What's up, guys? Greg Hall with I Like Collectibles here. CGC just dropped some big news about their labels. Stick around, we're going to go over it. So here it is, diving right in. This is a press release on CGC's website titled Parameters Modified for Defects Listed on CGC Labels. Because CGC members now have free access to grader notes, not as many defects will be listed on certification labels. Based on feedback from prominent members of the collecting community, Certified Guarantee Company CGC is implementing a change that will reduce the number of defects that are identified on the comic book's label. Label defects update. Traditionally, certain defects were listed on a CGC label if they are present on a certified comic book, which were also recorded in the comic book's grader notes. Because CGC members now have free access to grader notes, this redundancy is being eliminated from the label for the presence of the following defects: stickers, Siamese pages, punch holes, staples added after manufacturing, staples removed, detachments, fully split spine, tape, significant missing portions of the cover, lamination, miscuts, puzzles, or coupons filled out. CGC will continue to identify on the label any significant missing pieces, which it just said doesn't really count for the covers, I guess, pages, wraps, or inserts from the interior of the comic. Each comic book's grade will reflect all missing parts, and those missing parts were recorded in the grader notes. CGC is discontinuing the term incomplete on its label, as well as the terms affects story and does not affect story. When parts are missing from the interior of a comic, now this is huge, the CGC label will continue to display restoration, conservation, and qualifiers as we have in the past, including married pages, color copies, wrong parts, coverless comics, individual wraps and pages, multiple covers, additional inserts, and unverified signatures on the cover. Now, my first takeaway from this is CGC is trying to get more members to sign up. I mean, obviously. I suggest that you pay for it, even if you do submit through your local comic shop, which please submit through your local comic shop. You need to, if they're good people anyway, you need to support them in the most ways that you can, and that is an easy way to do it. Just let them handle your submissions. That's what I do. So yeah, I think that what they're trying to do is get more people to sign up for memberships. It's $25 a year. You do get access to unlimited grading notes, and I've used it quite a bit. I signed up for it. I don't submit anything on my own. I submit through my buddy that owns a shop, but I do have the luxury of living in Tampa, Florida, so he hand delivers every single book to CGC. I know that I don't have to worry about them getting damaged in transit or anything like that, so that's a big perk and a plus for me. Now let's circle back to what they're eliminating from labels. Some of these are pretty easy to identify just by looking at the book. Like if a sticker on the cover would be one that would be easy to identify. Punch holes, very easy to identify. Remove staples. You do have to look a little harder sometimes at the spine to see if the staples are there. Sometimes it's really hard to see on pictures just from the front. So that's one that is not as easy. Staples added after manufacturing, that's one that's typically a little easier because they tend to put them a little bit towards the center. Usually when someone staples it, they don't staple it directly at the spine. They staple it a little bit away from the spine, so you can typically see those encapsulated. Now a lot of these you cannot see. You cannot see anything when it's encapsulated, like the puzzles or coupons filled out inside. There's no way you could tell that without opening the book. So grader notes are absolutely important on that. Another thing that would be extremely important are detachments. You're not going to be able to really tell that if they encapsulate it with the book totally intact. Sometimes if a page is detached in the middle, when they encapsulate it, it comes loose a little bit. You can actually see that where it's been displaced, but most of the time that's not the case. Tape on the cover would be easy to find. Tape on the interior, however, would be extremely hard to identify just by looking at the book. So that's another thing that you need to have grader notes. So now when you're buying a book, I recommend that you absolutely look at the grader notes moving forward. And this is a little disheartening because they did it a certain way for so many years, and people are going to have to change their way of thinking. My big takeaway from this is they are not going to identify incomplete on the cover anymore. Now there's a ton of 0.5s floating around out there, and 0.5s that are complete typically go for a little bit higher of a dollar amount than an incomplete 0.5. They're both going to be a CGC universal label because CGC obviously lets you opt for that. So this is one that I think they should really leave the incomplete on the cover. on the label rather, because that does help you quickly identify, yeah, it's a 0.5, but at least it's complete. That is big. That's big news to me. That's really big news to me. So now for any 0.5, I'm going to be pulling the greater notes every single time. When in the past I may not have. I mean, usually any book I buy, I pull the greater notes, but some of the more casual collectors aren't going to do that. Now, unfortunately, I recommend that if you're buying a 0.5 book, regardless what book it is, I would just check the greater notes real quick and see how it is. Now, do I feel like these are all good moves? I mean, the good thing is it's going to clean the label up a little bit. The bad thing really is this. I think this affects collectors more than anything, because collectors a lot of the time aren't going to pay as close attention. Now they have to pull the notes on every single book they buy. And again, I do it for every book that I buy, but a lot of people don't really care about getting a bump or whatever. A lot of time I'll pull the notes because I want to see if there's any room to potentially increase the grade on it. Now, is it a little deceiving? I mean, they're putting out a release saying that they're doing this, but if the 0.5 is going to show that it's not incomplete anymore, it's going to really throw people off. And I think that is a little deceiving. I think on the 0.5s they should really put incomplete. Obviously over 0.5 it's going to be green label anyway, so you're going to know something's going on with it. But the 0.5 does get a universal label, so that is my biggest worry away from this. And you might say, oh, 0.5, they're not worth very much money. Well, that's not always the case. If you're looking at like a Batman 1 in a 0.5, that makes a difference, obviously, right? But it's missing a couple pages or it has cutouts, like, it makes a difference. Yeah, my big takeaway is that you're going to have to do more research. You're going to have to do more research when you're buying books. You're going to have to look into it, and I really do recommend that you bite the bullet and spend the $25 a year to get greater notes now. Does it suck? Maybe, if you're submitting through your local comic shop, but if you think about it, $25 a year is not that much. It's $2 a month. Be wary of books in the upcoming future that are submitted. Look up the notes. Make sure that it is what you get. What you see is what you get. You're going to want to make sure that they're complete on the 0.5s. And you're going to make sure that if these things matter to you, all these things here matter to you, when you buy a book, you're going to make sure that they don't have them. And the only way to do that now is to read the greater notes. So again, if you're buying a book to flip it or to potentially get a big bump and you don't realize that there's something missing from the interior, or there's a detached centerfold, or there's coupons filled out, maybe that book is a lower grade because really bad issues with the interior of the book. I mean, in the past, you should look it up anyway, but now you definitely need to look it up. So who are the winners and losers in this? Well, I think the losers are the collectors. The winners are the sellers. Unfortunately, as a collector, I don't like this too much. And as a seller, I don't really agree with it either. People are going to have to jump through more hoops to find out about the book that they're buying. In a lot of cases with collectors, they're just not going to do it, or they're not going to know to do it. And I don't think that's right. I love CGC. I'm a huge proponent of CGC, but this is a move that I don't really like. What do you guys think? Leave a comment below. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get updates anytime I have a new video come out. Until next time, thank you guys so much for watching. Have fun, stay safe, buy comics, buy collectibles. Bye. See you guys. Until next time.